You're listening to the Rebel Scum podcast.
You are always scum.
Rebel Scum.
From odds making to list rankings, we've got you covered. And don't forget to join us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
Just looking through the Google, like the search engines, and there's the Edmonton Journal. Shout out to our good friends in the warm city of Edmonton. It's warm there, I think.
Yeah. Oh, all the time.
All the time, warm. They have the Edmonton Journal says sci-fi horse race, Picard, Doctor Who, or Star Wars. Who's in the lead? And I'm looking at this, and I haven't actually read this article, but let's go on this adventure. And you know what? I wouldn't normally click on something like this, but because it's our good friends over in Edmonton, I'm going to. And Picard, I don't know if you've seen the new Picard show or not, Brock. I have not. I do like Jean-Luc Picard and his Earl Grey hot, his Energize and Make It So, and all those fun things, and number one and whatever. And I just hit a article here. So it's all about who's in the lead, and the question I have is, when did this race begin? Because I was not made aware that there was a race on this whatsoever. And the article there's more. Avenue 5 HBO, the least known and most original of our contestants. This is like an actual like trivia. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. Have you seen that one, Brock?
Yeah. It's a lot.
Doctor Who?
Like,
what?
I haven't seen. No, I thought you meant I've seen that show. Yes, I have, and I've also seen Avenue 5. It's interesting. I'm behind on HBO shows. Is this the show? Are we started?
We've started episode 158. The Clone Wars is on here. So do you want to hear who they say wins this the race?
Yes.
And this is because it's Edmonton. It's this is all real. This is it. This is canon. What I'm about to say now. This lives on in Star Wars lore forever. The verdict, tight race at the top, but Doctor Who wins right now, with Picard a close second, the weird Avenue 5 closing in. As Dark Crystal Age of Resistance has been out a while, special mention, so definitely check that out. If you haven't, it's a golden age for Nerd TV. See you in a month, sports fans. The Clone Wars, while it's on this list, doesn't even, like, that and Picard aren't even mentioned. Oh, Picard's second, right? So that doesn't even get mentioned. Yeah, so... Wow, they actually do not like this new season of Clone Wars at all. They say that it is poodoo. They say, to quote Sebulba, poodoo. Quotes for them knowing how to quote Sebulba. So I think, they know what they're talking about. I'll read quickly what the Edmonton Journal has to say about the Clone Wars. Because I want everybody in the chat and the comments to really chime in here, especially if you're from Edmonton. Oh man, and Star Wars was doing so well with The Mandalorian. I don't want to spend too much time trashing this. Because, Brock, I know you're all cut up with the Clone Wars and you've seen these, so I want your opinion on this. Dave Filoni has made so much gold over the years, but the episode with the Bad Batch, so it's only based on the first episode, Bad Batch Clone Wars, Clone Troopers was simply embarrassing return to its final season. Basically, watch the recent Rick and Morty episode about how awful and cliched heist movies are, and you'll be most of the way with me. Making a squad of troopers essentially Smurfs with a single dominant feature, the brooding sniper, the annoying fact-rattling nerd, the roguish hotshot, and mentally challenged brute, just kept bringing me back to R2-D2 and C-3PO crossing the desert in 1977 and thinking, how the hell did we get to this complete garbage, and when will the Jawas pick it up? Fingers crossed, the Ahsoka story is better. Though, of course, low stakes as we know where she ends up. In the best parts of Rebels, a generation later, clashing lightsabers with her former master. So far, though. Rebuttal, Brock.
I mean, these episodes are the ones that like they made years ago that they're finally going to be able to finish. Yeah. And yeah, I guess like the Bad Batch is like, it's been done. I mean, the Scar Squad is almost basically the same thing, but whatever. Like, who cares? It's a 30-minute show, so it's like you can't expect huge. I like the second episode, so suck it. I don't know.
So it sounds like the article was written before the second episode dropped.
Yeah.
But so okay, wait. So season 7 of the Clone Wars is now. I haven't seen the most recent episode of it, so I can't talk about it as of this recording. By the time this goes up, I probably have seen it. But whatever. We live in the past, not the future.
Yeah.
If you were to grade these 2 episodes, how would you grade them individually?
I don't know. I guess first one 7 out of 10, second one 8 out of 10. 7, the first one just being like, yeah, it's you kind of have to. It feels like an episode. It's slightly improved stuff, and there's new stuff, and like I think the Bad Batch isn't as exciting because all the trailers for the show was about them pretty well. So it's sort of like we've seen it. It's like, okay, now show us more. So. And you kind of can't get that in a 30-minute show, even though, I mean, Mandalorian you can't compare it to because like Mandalorian is completely new and everything is new. You're like, hooray! But the second one gets more in depth on things and starting to like link it more with the film in different aspects. To the point where I feel like I should rewatch it because just I think I missed some details too. Because it's like, oh wow, that's cool. Cool visuals though. I don't know. Like, come on, man.
Do you think it would have been? Do you think it would have been to their advantage that, unlike the Mandalorian, where I think dropping a show weekly worked to their advantage? Do you think it would have worked more to their advantage for the Clone Wars to drop maybe the entire season all at once?
Maybe. I don't know. I think that's just an argument on your personal preference. I don't mind it. I like waiting for stuff. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
I love weekly view. I'm just thinking because this is season 7 and because, I mean, like realistically, you would think a portion of the audience, or probably a large portion, binged the first 6 seasons before this dropped.
Yeah.
You know, people.
And then then you start watching and you're like, I only get a little bit. It's like, wow, I just like 120 episodes in a row. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. They're like, there should be more. There isn't right now. Relax. Or just wait. What? How many episodes are going to be in
12.
This
There's
season?
12 in this season. Yeah.
Just wait another 10 weeks and you can watch it all in a row.
All in a row. Yeah, exactly. Just pretend it doesn't debut until June or whatever, and you're good to go. For me, I like the weekly. I haven't caught up on this one. I think this is. I love Clone Wars and everything, but it's just Friday I had to get up really early for work, so even if it was like The Mandalorian when I watched it, I wouldn't be able to watch until after. I just, it's season 7, and we all know where it's going, and it's really It's the last 4 episodes that are really going to intrigue us the most, and really grab us the most, because I've seen the schematics of these ones on YouTube in the past, so I know where they're going and what they're about. But I'm excited. I'm glad that the show was saved. I'm glad that it's back. It has a huge following, and now they get to end it. They get to end it the way it should end, and lead into Rebels and Mandalorian and Revenge of the Sith and all that stuff. So I'm very excited about that. Good on them, and I hope the ratings are solid so that we get more animated Star Wars in the future, in this vein, in the storytelling vein. And I hope Rebels is doing well on there as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching Rebels again. I think I'm going to do that even before the season 7 is up, but I'm going to finish Clone Wars and be like, oh yes. I mean, you got to look at it this way. Like, now that they're doing this after the fact of what happens in Rebels, like now they can link it more. So I don't know. It's I'm excited. So screw you, Edmonton. There, I said it.
You know what? It's cold in Edmonton.
Yeah, you mentioned that a few times. Yeah, it's very far north. This is the Rebel Scum podcast, where we bring you hard-hitting opinions like screw you, Edmonton. I am Brock. This is
James. 158, episode 158, the second one this week. Brock, 2 in the week. We're giving the people what they want. Me reading more articles from Edmonton websites. That's been probably our number one criticism for the last 3.5 years, that we don't read enough articles from the Edmonton Journal. and we did it today. Do you know anybody in Edmonton, like personally?
I know people in Red Deer.
No, that's not what I asked.
People live in a small town called Bentley, which isn't too far. Red Deer would be like their main place to go shopping. I think most of my cousins, two of my cousins live in Red Deer, and then my other cousins live outside of that area. So that northern Alberta, I don't know if that's, yeah, I guess that's northern Alberta. Wonderful province. Come to Canada and check it out.
The wonderful province of Kansas.
Kansas.
The wonderful province. I've never been to Calgary. Spoiler alert. Never been to Calgary, never been to a Stampede, never been to Edmonton, the city of champions in the 80s. City of champions.
Big ass mall.
Yeah, with a big mall. I've read books that take a place in the West Edmonton Mall, but I've never actually never been there. So I know all about it. I feel like I've been to Edmonton. Not a huge Star Wars. I don't know does the West Edmonton Mall have a Star Wars theme in it? Probably it doesn't. Is what I would say. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you want to listen to us, just listen to us, and you don't have to look at this beautiful face. I'm looking at you, Brock. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and other things. So check us out there. Give us a rating. Give us a review. It helps us out a lot. You can also support us over at Patreon, patreon.com/RebelScum podcast, where we do weekly shows and stuff as well.
And also check out our other channel, RSP and Detours, where you get little snippets of
I just hit my face. with the mic de-esser. That's gonna look awesome. Bro, I should make that in slow motion where I hit my face.
Yeah, and put it on RSP and Detours.
RSP and Detours. That's where you can watch short clips on the stuff. So anyway, Bob Iger abruptly stepped down like the day before we posted live last week's episode. Bob Iger stepped down. Bob Chapek.
I don't know. I've been saying Chapek.
Either way, you got to be named Bob. There's certain things. To run Disney now, you have to be named Bob. And to have a late night talk show, you have to be named Jimmy or James. So I'm in the wrong profession, Brock. I'm in the wrong profession. And you just need to brew beer.
Yeah. I think Bob Iger he should have pulled the wool over our eyes and just said, now we'll be taken over by Robert Iger. And we're like, who's Robert Iger?
That's what Aaron's asking right now. Look, Bob Iger said, I think it was 2018, he was going to step down. Then he was going to step down before this book came out, his book, which is a great read. Everyone should read it. And he didn't, but he's still on until 2021 as executive chairman. So Bob Chapek actually reports to Iger still. So Iger's like the big kahuna of Disney still. So nothing's going to change. I know there's been a lot of people like, oh my God, he's going to fire Kathleen Kennedy. That's the first thing that's going to happen is Bob Chapek is going to fire Kathleen Kennedy and sell Marvel to Warner Brothers.
Why? That makes no sense.
What do you mean? I read it somewhere on Reddit. It has to be real.
Get out of here. That makes no sense.
No, I'm just joking. That's a joke.
No,
but look, I think people are
on the internet would say that shit.
Of course. I think people though are overreacting to everything right now. This is the individual who oversaw the theme parks. And what's a big part of the theme parks right now? Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. Marvel's coming in there as well with what's it called? Avenger Time or something like that. They're having like their own Marvel Avengers theme park attraction. Like, chill. He's not getting rid of your precious Star Wars just yet. Next week's a different story. But I don't think there's any cause of concern. Look, realistically, the head of Disney should not concern any of us.
I don't think so either, because it's like, Bob Iger is the big boss man on top, but there's a million other people that make this stuff happen. But like his role in Disney is huge. Like he took over for Michael Eisner when ABC. I was looking stuff up earlier. I remember Michael Eisner being the guy for Disney when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. That was a renaissance.
I think they made fun of him for sure on Family Guy, but I feel like whenever anything was about Disney, it was about Michael Eisner. So yeah, it's kind of cool that like there's these people that have been in charge of Disney are known, right? Like it's obviously Disney is a huge company, especially today, but like it's wild that we know these CEOs. Like, so I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic. Like, there's a lot of good stuff that's happening. It's like Bob Iger's created this like empire where it's like you kind of can't. So yeah, like maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I don't think they can. Disney as a whole can fail without Bob Iger. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think he's, and that's why I think he felt like it was the appropriate time to step down. Is that they acquired Fox, and Disney Plus is off and running. And I have a question for you about Disney Plus. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. The content on Disney Plus, is it? Because I think the back catalog is great. Yeah. But when I talk to a lot of people with kids, the kids aren't into the old stuff. They want the new stuff, and there's not a lot of new content on there. Do you think that, I mean, this is going to change over time, but in the grand scheme of things, do you think a lot of people, it's worth a lot of people's money to pay for Disney Plus?
Well, it's hard to say. I don't spend any time with kids that watch Disney Plus, so because like I feel like it's more tailored toward people like us. We're like, oh yeah, we'll buy it for sure because we need this new content. I'm impressed with it, but like thinking back now, it's like how much stuff have I watched on it? Like right now, I'm trying to watch all Clone Wars, so that's taking a huge chunk of time, right? But I haven't seen Toy Story 4, and it's on there, so I haven't seen Toy Story 3, so I'm gonna at some point watch them. Yeah, it's just easy for me. It's a sell easy for me because it's Star Wars. So if I need that new content, and like I don't buy the movies anymore. I do digitally, but like now that they're on these streaming sites, why buy them at all?
Yeah.
I mean, but content wise, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. I think it's just there's a disconnect because I don't think everyone has Disney Plus right now. Because the problem is they're like, wow, I have Netflix. Why do I need another streaming service? If you're in Canada, you have Crave. Why do I need another streaming service? If you have Amazon, why do I have Prime? Why do I need another streaming service? The States, Hulu. Like, I mean, the deal that Americans have with Disney Plus with like ESPN and Hulu.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. That's a great move because I think that's what's going to implement it more into it. And it hasn't been a full year of Disney Plus.
It's only been a few months.
Yeah. I know people are like a little mad because some stuff came down around Christmas time. And it wasn't just like Christmas movies. It was like stuff like, oh, I want to watch that at some point. I don't know exactly where everything stands on that.
Well, all you have to do is download it and you can still watch it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, there you go. So
if they remove something, but you download it,
that on Netflix already.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? Until someone creates some kind of cloud storage where everything can be on the internet, you gotta have to keep in mind that to make more room for content, you have to get rid of old stuff. Unfortunately,
and they don't have the rights to everything either because they sold some of the streaming and some of the airing of some of these movies to other companies before they had their own streaming. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Solo, I think, is going to be on in July. Last Jedi's just got on a month ago. So just hold on to your pants. I mostly watch Mandalorian and Darkwing Duck. This is what annoys me right now about Disney Plus, is that New Year's somebody came over and turned on my Disney Plus under my account, Brock. I was not very happy, and watched like an Ant-Man cartoon. I'm looking at you, Rob. An Ant-Man cartoon, The Simpsons, and something else that I would never watch. And now all of my recommendations are based on those three things that have been watched, I don't know, like once. And I'm like, all I watch is Darkwing Duck. Just recommend more Darkwing Duck and Quack Pack. And this is where I want to move on. And Gargoyles and Mandalorian. But instead, it's like all focused on that. I'm like, oh my God. And there's no option. Like Netflix, you can go into their website and like delete your recently watched. So it stops coming up. Disney Plus, you can't do that yet. I think Disney Plus just added a recently added feature to it, which is helpful. Look, they're coming up. I'm excited for season 2 of The Mandalorian. I hope this Cassian Andor show happens
Yeah,
because it keeps going into this turmoil. Every time I hear about Cassian Andor, it's like, it's happening, it's not happening, it is happening, no, it's not, maybe it is, oh, it's shooting this year, we don't have scripts yet. It's like, why are you announcing this right now? It's frustrating, and this is the way Disney is handling, or Lucasfilm's handling Star Wars right now. It's just like they have these good ideas. It's like, Brock, you and I are like, you know what we should do? We should open a brewery. And you're like, yeah, let's open a brewery. I'm like, okay, we're going to open a brewery. And we have these ideas for a brewery. And we're like, well, we don't really know how to do it, so we need somebody that can help us. Okay. And we go over and we get your friend, our friend, your roommate, Daryl. We're like, Daryl, help us open a brewery. Okay. We're never going to open this brewery, but we all have this crazy idea. That's how I feel every time they announce there's a Star Wars announcement, except for High Republic. That's how I feel. I'm like, they have these great ideas, but nobody to follow through with it because they don't have the one person that can make it happen. Like you and I, we can like beer, we can actually want to open a brewery, but we don't know. We're not the people that can make that happen. Like you need the brewmaster, and they don't seem to have that. And it's like, now Rian Johnson's off doing his Knives Out 2, and maybe it's J.D. Dillard. I don't know. Maybe it's Kevin Feige, but he's got his Marvel stuff going on. Who knows? So it's just these empty promises. But I hope the Cassian Andor thing happens because I think Marvel's getting its act together with these streaming shows. This year, WandaVision's coming out, and then I think right after that is a Winter Soldier and Falcon. And so they're coming. I think Star Wars has to just show us what you're made of. Mandalorian, was that a one-off? Are you going to keep having hits like that? Show me what you got.
Yeah. Hit me with your best shot.
I
read that apparently they're calling Obi-Wan Pilgrim right now.
Yeah.
That's like code word for it.
Pip Pilgrim.
Cool.
But do you think there's a reason for that, or is that just a name they picked?
I don't know. I always, because Blue Harvest, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. No, it's fair. Do you think he's on a pilgrimage?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking for it over.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I worked on a TV show and it's very popular, and it was they called it Sister Rising, and I don't I have no idea what that.
Well, Last Jedi was also Space Bears. They just pull these names out of their butts. And I saw people, again, just like dinosaurs. We talked about that on the last episode, where people were up in arms, why is it called Pilgrim? Chill your butts. It's just a working title. Chill out.
But did you see though? In going back to Bob Iger and people's reaction, the Disney stock fell 2%.
Well, I think that was inevitable.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna happen anyways. Outside of recently, how the Dow took a dive because of COVID-19, but we're not gonna talk about politics now. But yeah, that's just how the stock market works, right?
Yeah,
Bob Iger, I think I said this in last year at some point. It's why do I care about Bob Iger? And he's monumental in what he made happen, but he's just the guy that signs the checks. And when you think about it, he's not out there building stuff.
He signs off on it though. Actually, he's in. He says, I think it was in his book, he mentions how every Tuesday or something, he has a meeting with Feige and Marvel to discuss the next 8 years of Marvel. So he's in it all. He's the one that approves it. I think people forget that he's the one that approves it. So if you didn't like The Last Jedi, if you didn't like The Rise of Skywalker, and you want to fire Kathleen Kennedy, maybe you should be happy that Bob Iger stepped down.
Yeah, it's just he's putting the people in the right places.
Yes,
and he's looking at big picture, which is something a company like Disney needs. Could you imagine 5-6 years ago, saying, "Oh, down the line, Disney's gonna own almost every major film, whatever production house or whatever you want to call it, and by 2018, 2019, they're gonna own all the top movies, the top box office sellers." It's wild too, because people forget that he purchased Pixar. Pixar wasn't part of Disney, even though it was under sort of the Disney.
Well, their contract with Disney was coming up or just ended, and they were looking. Right. And I think the rumor was they were going to go to Paramount or something. Pixar was looking to bunk up with them, and then Disney's like, here's a check for $7 billion, and they're like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it's like you had, the top movies, Marvel and Star Wars, and then also like bringing up the rear is always, or sometimes not even like the third place one is a Pixar film, and then bringing up the rear is like whatever Disney film they put out. Like I think it was like 1 year where it was like, I guess Last Jedi, Infinity War, Toy Story 3, I guess, because I guess Toy Story 4 came out last year. And then like Jungle Book, it's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, done. Yep. And it was all owned by the same company. Like it's just like they're unstoppable. It's in a sense, I guess. I don't know. So good, yeah. Bob Iger, good work.
Well, that's the thing. And Iger, like you look at the MCU, you look at Kevin Feige, and Feige was having a lot of, and like this article kind of came out recently where Feige wanted to get into Captain Marvel and Black Panther, like 2010 or 11 or something like that. And the one thing is Feige was having a lot of problems with Perlmutter at Marvel because that's who he reported to. And Iger's the one that said, Iger was the one that recognized Feige's vision and got rid of Perlmutter and had Feige report to Alan Horn instead. He's like, Iger was instrumental in the MCU in, maybe not the actual stories, but understanding that the one who understands what's going on had a roadblock, and he removed that roadblock and gave Feige the tools he needed to create the MCU. And now look, Captain Marvel and Black Panther, $1 billion for both of those. They've reached like $3 billion combined or whatever. Like, that wouldn't have been the case in 2011. I don't think they would have reached that, obviously, because the MCU wasn't the MCU yet, but they probably would have been hits. They would have been very different movies ultimately, but they would have been hits probably. And Iger's the one that recognized what he's doing. And Galaxy's Edge too. Galaxy's Edge was going to be, this might actually upset people, it was going to be very original trilogy oriented. It was going to be all original trilogy. Then he saw the dailies for The Force Awakens and sequel trilogy. Do it. And I think people are arguing, but I think Batu making its own thing, in the end, it's going to make sense. And I think they're going to have the possibilities to expand and take you to other planets in the Star Wars universe that we know and love eventually down the road. But Iger he understands business more than anybody, and the entertainment business very well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's wild. It's sort of like what it's dumbfounding to think about it, because it's just like, it's not just films, it's like across so many mediums, right?
Yeah.
They own Marvel, so they also own Marvel Comics.
Yeah. And that's that's a big industry.
And I'd argue they haven't, like, everyone was worried that like Marvel Comics are going to change because Disney, like, they didn't. Like, it's the same as it was 5 years ago, and but with new extra stuff, like they brought Star Wars back. So like without Bob Iger, Marvel doesn't get Star Wars back. And look at what we talk on a weekly basis about, this new comic book, you have to read this. So
that's actually a good point you brought up, is the Marvel comics didn't change when Disney bought them. Pixar didn't change when Disney bought them. Marvel, I guess, kind of did, but it didn't, like the movies, Marvel, the MCU, because it was kind of, it was Paramount and Universal had the Hulk and Iron Man. So they kind of like, but they're still kind of together in that. And then there's Star Wars, which everyone refers to it as Disney Star Wars. And everyone's like, well, it's not Disney Star Wars, it's Lucasfilm. So it's like, it's still Star Wars. And when you brought that up, it's like, did Star Wars change? And I think the answer is yes, but I think there was no choice for it to change. Because if Disney had bought Star Wars during the prequel trilogy, does the prequel trilogy, like if they bought them halfway through Attack of the Clones, does that trilogy change? Or does it still feel like they're on the same path? And that's the thing. Like, I guess what happened was Lucas was kind of like, shoo-shooed, poo-pooed to the side, poo-dooed to the side. And then they let Abrams and Bad Robot come in and kind of do it their thing. And I guess that's the only difference there. But I think it's still, Rogue One, Solo, Mandalorian, that's Star Wars to the core. You can argue what you want about the sequel trilogy, but those three, Star Wars to the core.
Yeah, I agree.
And the books are Star Wars as well.
Yeah, it's wild. So it's like, to retire and be like, yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
As you were.
Could you just imagine? Just fire Kathleen Kennedy. I'm sorry, I had to. Never tell me the odds.
Never tell me the odds, brought to us by our Patreons, wonderful people that like to support what we do.
Patreon.com/Rebel Scum podcast.
Yeah, check it out on Patreon. And our patrons are executive producer Heidi Feder, Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Mary Kristen Athon, Jeff Wilson, Aaron Quinton, Al Schuler, Phil Stanforth, Janet Rubio, Rachel Alford, Austin Schur, Scott D, Andy Higgins, Josh Price, Mason Hope,
Matt W. Matt W. Res, Rural Farm Boy. Brock, you just wanted to say Rural Farm Boy because he didn't think you would ever say his name. Frank Perkins, Sooner, Thrawn, Neil Lowry, D. Raven, Spencer, Charlie Skywalker, Gleek Play 1, Kayla Davis, Automated Joy, Charlotte, Mariah Weekland, Jericho Kane, Girls with Sabers. Still don't know what color saber they would get. I'm going to ask them now. I'm just going to tweet at them. We'll get an answer by the end of this. And, of course, the Den of Nerds.
Den of Nerds.
I'm actually going on right now. We're recording this before people see it. Patreon will be watching this much earlier. So where's Girl with Sabers? Girls with Sabers right here. Hey, what color light? I'm spelling color the Canadian way, the British way, with a U. Lightsaber would
the British way
have the It's the American way. That's
the American way.
Sam the Eagle from Muppets
my
Christmas
favorite part of that movie.
Oh, it's so good. The British way. It's a great movie.
The American way.
Did you watch it on Disney Plus? They cut out the song. The one song.
The girl
song?
And
people were complaining, and I said, we used to fast forward that.
Thing, though.
I used to fast forward that part. Huh?
That's not a new thing, though. Like I feel like they've been cutting that song out on and off.
It wasn't years, so it wasn't in the theatrical version, but it was on the DVD and VHS release. Right. Yeah, and so my whole childhood growing up, I fast forwarded that. No offense to the song, but I fast forwarded that song. That's been like my family. My dad will, my dad. He would not sit through that song at all. He's like I think he liked Rise of Skywalker until they kissed, and he goes, worst movie ever, and he threw it out the window. He's like, Rogue One. I love Rogue One. They all die and no one kissed. So I didn't have a choice. I wasn't allowed to play that song. So thank you all, Patreon, for your support. It's awesome to see. Patreon.com/Rebel Scum podcast. Girls with Sabers have not got back to me, but it says they've read the tweet, so we'll see. First off, the odds of an alien main protagonist in a future Star Wars movie. Got to be a movie, not a book, not a comic. In a movie.
Maybe.
Okay, that's not it. That's not how the game works.
I haven't done this in a long, so I'm going to go full Brock.
You say you haven't done it in a while, but every week you give a full Brock.
No.
Okay, episode 157 you didn't give a full Brock, but the week before you did. I'm going 65.972%. Bring it. I think we're ready for it. I think it's time to give us one. I think some people were when Din Djarin looked like Pedro Pascal, they're like, oh, I'm like, well, yeah, we saw him as a child. He was not going to be an alien. I think we're ready for it, so bring that one. Number 2, the odds of a Gungan appearing in The Mandalorian Season 2.
I want to say 75%, because I feel like this season's going to have them hopping planet to planet, trying to figure out who Kevin is. That's what Baby Yoda is in my head. So yeah, I can see them going to Naboo because why not?
Full Brock. I'm gonna rip you off.
And then they go. It's perfect because like there's frogs there, and that's what Baby Yoda likes to eat.
And he just eats Jar Jar, and that's Jar Jar's death. He's gonna eat him by Baby Yoda. I'm gonna go full Brock. They mentioned Gungans in season 1. You know what? I don't think they're going to, but I would love it because I love Gungans. But I got to go full Brock. It is. I think it's a ballsy move to bring Gungans back, and I think if their confidence is up, they'll be like, "Let's just do it." They got away with Life Day. They got away with the Mythosaur, with the Blurgs. Do it. And our final odd today, the odds of... Did you read this? I didn't even write his name. The odds of Darth Bane appearing or mentioned in the High Republic.
Is he canon?
He's canon. He's in Clone Wars.
Yeah. Sure. I'm going to go 65% because we have all these names that we have been tossing around from Legends. Just throw it in there.
When they have Sith Empire on the whiteboard, it kind of gets my... like I said, I think that's something that they didn't follow through with. It was one of the ideas that they kind of went against. Because also on there is High Republic is on there as well, right? So it seems like not everything on that is playing out, and some stuff they picked, some they didn't. I'm going to go 61.598723849% on it. I would love that. But again... You want to make High Republic its own thing, maybe you don't worry about stuff like that. Maybe you don't worry about the past so much. If you're not going to worry about the future, don't worry about the past too much. Make it take place in the present, its own present, and I'd be okay with that. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna think it's a possibility, but it's not the highest of plausibilities for me. Those are our odds. Let us know what your odds are down in the comments below. We love hearing from you. We love seeing them. I'm just looking for the Holo News. How did I miss the Holo News graphic? Holo News. Da 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 da. Holo News. Holo News. Brock.
Hi.
Read them and weep.
Holo News. The news you need to know right now. Las Vegas has a Star Wars exhibit coming up, I believe, later in March. Where is the date on here? Open in March. That's it. That's all the info I have. But it's going to be an interactive and immersive Star Wars exhibit on the Las Vegas Strip, dubbed Fans Strike Back. It will be located inside Immersion Vegas at the Fashion Show Mall on the Boulevard. It was created by fans for the fans of the galaxy's most popular movie saga, according to EMS Entertainment. It will take guests on a journey from the resistance to the dark side while displaying hundreds of unique collectible sculptures, life-size figures, lightsabers, blasters, and more. It's going to be unlike anything we've seen before. There will be a 16-foot Jabba the Hutt, engaging video installations, a 26-foot pod racer, a recreation of an Imperial I-class Star Destroyer's main bridge, and legendary characters including Chewbacca, Yoda, R2-D2, C-3PO, Darth Vader, and more. When it opens in March, it will be open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Sundays from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tickets will be $29 and $15 for children 11 and under. So check it out. I would love to go, but I live in Canada, so I will go to something more closer. The Toronto Lightsaber Club has opened recently, part of a company called Archers Arena, where you can do that battle archery. You can go in, and it's a 10,000 square foot combat archery arena at Dufferin and Shepherd, if you know anything about Toronto, and offering the activity of anyone interested in dueling with lightsabers. The sabers at Archer's Arena are made of polycarbonate material, which makes them extremely sturdy. They light up with an LED lights inside, and they're equipped with electric rumble on contact. So it'll feel like you're actually having a lightsaber fight. It is an hour-long battle at the arena, which costs $35 per person, or group packages starting at $250 for 8 people. And the more people you add, the cheaper it becomes for everyone. So check that out if you're in Toronto. That sounds like fun, knocking plastic swords together. And in the rumor mill, Mandalorian, apparently reported by, where do I put it here? Star Wars Newsnet, James Mangold and Robert Rodriguez have been rumored to have directed sequences for an episode of Mandalorian Season 2, with Rodriguez's contribution being called as great. No official statement from Lucasfilm as of officially, but with the people we had last season. Anybody could direct, I suppose. And they did a great job. So having those two directors come in would be great. It has also been confirmed that Bryce Dallas Howard will direct another episode in season 2. And I think we reported as well, different ways during the weeks. Star Wars Newsnet also says that there are big guest stars rumored for season 2. And this has been your Hollow News. I've unplugged something. I don't know.
Well, I still see you and hear you.
It's the power for my laptop. It's fine.
All right, we should get to top 5 then.
All right, then.
Top 5. That's the top 5 music. Top 5 highlights from the Bob Iger era of Star Wars. Top 5 highlights from the Bob Iger era of Star Wars. By the way, side Akbar, did you hear about Spielberg leaving Indiana Jones 5 and possibly James Mangold stepping in?
Yeah, I was trying to work that in somehow. It's like, it's not really Star Wars, but like it's kind of.
It's not. But Mangold doing Mandalorian and this, it's intriguing to say the least that he's getting this. And he did I really liked the Wolverine and Logan. Girl Interrupted. He did. I haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari yet, but he's a really good director. And if you can get him in on Star Wars at all, sure. Robert Rodriguez, I don't even have to talk about. Like, I think it was Robert Rodriguez. I think Robert Rodriguez in that sandbox is kind of exciting because his Grindhouse Planet Terror was. I don't know why I'm comparing Planet Terror is what I'm going to, like that cheesy, like he understands genre. He loves playing in genre, and I think
he can definitely do a gunfight. So,
and he can make a movie for no money.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting. It's all exciting. Star Wars, top 5 moments from the Iger era. Number 5, Baby Yoda.
Oh, I almost put that on there, but
I was going to put the whole Mandalorian, like Disney Plus streaming Mandalorian. Yeah. That's really what it is. But Baby Yoda is the thing that came in and kind of captured our hearts. So I'm going to go Baby Yoda.
My number 5 is going to take on the Trolls. Hiring Kathleen Kennedy. I think I don't know if he directly hired her.
He didn't. She was hired. Her hiring is it. She was already there. It was that was a Lucas scheme. If they don't
purchase it from Lucasfilm, she doesn't become in charge of Lucasfilm. So, number 5, suck it. She does a good job.
Number 4, Star Wars Rebels. Look, they canceled Clone Wars. Everybody was ticked off. # save Clone Wars and all that stuff. Everything was happening. Everybody wanted to burn the House of Mouse down, and then Rebels came, and right away it was like, oh, it's so round, it looks like a kid's cartoon. Well, it's a Disney show on Disney XD, so it is, and it ended up being one of my parts of my all-time favorite Star Wars. I mean, look, Kanan Jarrus is in Rise of Skywalker, even if that was just to throw in for fanfare, who cares? It's such an integral part now, especially with the Darksaber appearing in Mandalorian and Ahsoka's character growing, the Bendu, Hera, Chopper, Sabine, everything going on in there is just so awesome. Thrawn showed up there. What was that?
The return of Thrawn.
Yeah, Thrawn. It was just such a highlight for me as a Star Wars fan, and I looked forward to that weekly. Maul appearing and dying, and great Star Wars there. Brock, your number 4.
My number 4 is the creation of Galaxy's Edge, making everyone want to go to Star Wars at the Disney parks. Boom. I know it's Bob Chapek, but again, he said you should make this.
You should absolutely make it. I'm trying to figure out what I think. I only have 4 listed, Brock. This is the problem that I'm coming to right now. Is I thought I had 5. But my math was way off.
It basically just becomes repeats. It's like he bought this, and then he bought that, and then he bought this.
I'm trying to think of what. Let's go with. Is it cheap just to say bringing back Clone Wars? Like you brought it back. Is it cheap?
No, you can do whatever you want.
I'm trying to think of what a good number 3 would be. Yeah, let's just go with bringing back Clone Wars. Hearing with the fans, like, because when you come in and get something, you want to make it your own. But then as time goes on, you have to understand and appreciate the fans. And bring Clone Wars back is actually, I think, a big aspect of understanding your fan base.
Yeah,
that's called a cop-out answer.
My number 3 is purchasing Marvel comics, so then we could get Star Wars comics yet again.
Well played.
Or whatever, working it all together. I can't remember the order of how it happened.
My number 2 is Galaxy's Edge. Huge endeavor, big part of the parks, and that's going to keep Star Wars in the mainstream for years and years to come. Even when there's no movies or TV shows or anything happening, you can always visit Star Wars land.
Yeah. My number 2 is the creation of Disney Plus. And I think there's a lot of other streaming services, but like Disney throwing their gauntlet down in taking away their content from like other streaming services to make their own. It's just like it's a real shakeup, and we've only seen the first couple months. I think it's going to be huge. It's going to change the landscape of how we watch television or stream television or however you want to call it now. So yeah, Disney Plus.
My number 1, it's not my favorite of them, but it was a great moment, and it brought Star Wars back, and it was The Force Awakens.
Oh, okay.
What were you going to say?
Mine was similar. It's like the purchase of Lucasfilm.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would be. Well,
you can't really make anything else without it. It's not exciting either, but like I had to put it number 1 because you're like, well,
mine were based off after that happening. That's why.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I thought it would be like Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens.
For the reason why it's Force Awakens and I don't have any of the other movies on there, even if, like I said, the Force Awakens is, to be completely honest, nobody get mad at me. You can like what you like. It's my least favorite of the Disney era Star Wars movies. Yeah. But the reason why it's there, my number 1, it shows up all the time. It's just Star Wars was back. It felt like Star Wars, and it was just an amazing moment in time where we went. We bought tickets early. We went to the theater. It was just one of those moments where you're like, everything felt great about that experience, and that's why it's there. That's why I have it there. And then he bought Star Wars.
Yeah. So kudos to Bob Iger. We salute you.
His chapter's over, but the story continues.
Yeah. The saga.
The saga continues. It will end. The Iger saga has come to an end right after the Skywalker saga, right after he saved Clone Wars. I wonder whose call Clone Wars was, to be honest. I wonder who was like, we need to bring this back. We've lost the Clone Wars fans. We need them back. I wonder who made that decision.
Filoni's like, hey, I've been doing your other stuff. Can we finish my projects?
A part of me feels like Filoni wasn't not disrespected, but he wasn't appreciated when they first kind of all got together. And I think as time goes on, they've seen this wealth of knowledge that he has. And I think, some of the people that were a little bit more appreciated over there were backing him a lot also. I think there was a lot of backing on Filoni, and I think we're seeing the fruits of that right now.
Yeah.
This is episode 158 episodes. Gotta let everybody know that you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Brockify, all that stuff. Brockify is Brock's new streaming podcast site. Because you listen, how many podcasts do you listen to?
Oh God, like 10 or so. I think I have a new podcast every day, sort of thing.
Sounds like it. Erin listens to a lot too, but hers are all. I'll come home from work and she's like, "The murder weapon was on the floor." I'm like, every time I'm like, "You need to listen to something fun." It's just like, it's all that. You listen to like more movie based and like comedy based, right?
Yeah. So I like to listen to people talk.
I think a lot of people do. They're fun on car rides, they'll say that. And while you're cleaning your dorm room, kitchen, bedroom, car, road trips, you can find us in all those places. You can download us, and you can watch us, of course, on YouTube. I'm James. He's Brock. Thanks so much for watching, for listening, to supporting us here and on Patreon, patreon.com/RebelScum podcast. We'll talk to you next week with episode 159. And until then, Brock, I've got one thing to say to you.
Yep.
You were always scum.
Rebel scum.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.